Curiosity Club. We are all now members, provided you adhere to our philosophy.
Ex curiositas scientia.
We pledge to learn without prejudice in pursuit of our mutual goal, perpetual noviceship. We admit that it is impossible to know everything about anything, and thus we remain perpetually curious and perpetually novice.
This is our flag and our mascot, Franklin. The lightning bolt represents the receipt of knowledge, the enlightenment of illumination, the resonance of truth understood. It awakens and excites us and makes us hungry for more. And now, let's give a warm Curiosity Club welcome to Alison, the Mountain Rock.
Hello! Thank you all so much for coming. I'm so excited to be here tonight to talk to you about something that I just love. I love rocks and minerals. I love searching for them. I love looking at them. I love working with them. I love all the people I meet who love them too. I think the last time I talked in front of a larger audience, I was standing on top of a 3-story shark tank at the New England Aquarium with like a Britney Spears microphone on, talking to the kids. But I'm happy that I get to talk about this subject. So I am not an expert. I'm not a geologist. And I'm actually really new to the lapidary craft, which is working with rocks and minerals to make sculptures and jewelry. What I'd like to focus on tonight is rocks and minerals of the Pacific Northwest, specifically the state of Oregon. Are there any geologists here tonight? Oh, okay. Bear with me. For those of you that might be newer to Oregon and haven't traveled around it that much, it has a tremendous and really varied geologic history. Out here we have the Pacific Ocean, where there's a massive plate or subduction zone, which is diving underneath the continent of North America and plunging all sorts of debris into the continent. We have the Coast Range here and the beautiful Cascade Range here, and then everything past it is my favorite part. It gets really high and dry, and that's some of the best places to find rocks and minerals in the state. So here's what's going on with Oregon and why it is the way it is now. And this is also why we're so lucky in the Northwest and we can find so many different types of rocks and minerals. Over time, as this plate slides underneath the North American continent, here's the surface of Oregon. All of these land masses from the center of the ocean are getting pushed up onto the shore. It's kind of like when you're sweeping something into a dustpan. Stuff will slip below it if there's a hole, but everything that catches the lip is going to rise above and crash in. So over hundreds of millions of years, I think technically 150 million for the state of Oregon existing, the land of Oregon existing, you have all of these different events where huge chunks of crust are crashing into the American continent and building Oregon out into the sea to the present day where we have the Pacific coast here. And then, as all of that is happening, the land mass on top is moving over the hot magma of the earth. And every time more land crashes into the state of Oregon, all of these magma beds underneath get pushed around, and some of them start releasing magma up onto the surface of the state. All the different colors represent different time periods over millions of years when large amounts of volcanic material came to the surface. So you have all of these crazy different events all over the place where things are coming up. We have Idaho here, Washington up here, and Oregon down here. And then we'll move closer into the state of Oregon. Up here we have this giant geothermal hotspot that's now actually out in Yellowstone. It used to be underneath Oregon, and it started throwing up this massive amount of volcanic material, and that's why we have such high elevation land masses out there. And that's why almost the entire state of Oregon is covered in volcanic rock. There's actually only very small bits of sedimentary rock to be found. There's a little bit down here, there's some out in John Day, and little pockets scattered around the state. So basically, the land mass underneath Oregon is made of quartz. Volcanic material is really, really rich in silicon dioxide. And silicon dioxide loves to dissolve into water. And as all of that water percolates down into the land, it starts filling voids and pockets and making beautiful rocks and minerals. And so that's what rockhounds in the state are after. What happens is rainwater falls on the surface of the ground. It percolates downwards through all of this volcanic rock. Along the way, it's dissolving all of that silica or quartz and carrying with it all sorts of other interesting minerals from the top of the land. It fills these voids, and over time, those voids start to dry out. This stuff goes from water to a gel to something called opal, which you may have heard of, and eventually when every last molecule of water is squeezed out of it, it hardens into agates and jaspers, and you get things like geodes and thunder eggs. So that's kind of what's going on. And I'm going to stop being boring now. So rockhounds are looking for all of those things that formed in those voids. And that's why Oregon is so great, because it's an endless mass of volcanic rock filled with these great minerals. Rockhounds are looking for things called jasper. Jasper is opaque quartz that you can see through that has other minerals in it that make it really colorful. You can find every color jasper known to man and woman in Oregon. They're also looking for agates. Agates are translucent to sometimes completely clear, and sometimes they can have these beautiful forms growing within them, and those are branches of minerals. They're also looking for obsidian, which is volcanic glass, and this is something you can find a lot of around Bend and the Newberry Volcanic Monument. I don't know if anyone's been down there. Then we have the most famous rock in Oregon, the thunder egg. Does anybody have thunder eggs? Yeah. Thunder eggs rule. I've got a bunch. I brought some, actually. Thunder eggs are pretty cool. This is a solid thunder egg that's been cut in half and polished by a rockhound in my club. I'm in a rock club. And then this is a thunder egg that never finished forming. And I found this one on the top of Maury Mountain in the Ochakos. It was underneath a tree root, and I hit it with my hammer and it broke open, and there are all these cool little stalactites inside. But this one is opalized, which means it didn't quite ever make it to the agate or jasper form. There's still some water mixed in with that quartz, which keeps it at the opal phase. So it's really soft and almost waxy. And my favorite thing that you can find in Oregon, and you can find it everywhere, you can even find it downtown, is petrified wood. I found so much petrified wood on Ross Island this summer, just hanging out. It was amazing. I brought a bunch of it here with me today. You can also find lots of petrified wood in the Clackamas River. I go swimming there a lot in the summers, just with a snorkel and a mask, and I'll pull up whole pieces of petrified wood that still have the wood grain in them. They're beautiful. But you have to cut them in half to see it. There's a lot of petrified wood out in Central Oregon, too. Lots. So the art of finding the rock is called rockhounding. It's kind of a funny phrase, but it's so much fun. And rockhounds are all ages, shapes, and sizes. I belong something to the Mount Hood Rock Club. Are there any Mount Hood Rock Club folks here? Yay! My people, I love them. I joined the club a year ago, and it changed my life. I totally found people who are nerdier and cooler and smarter than I was, and I just really couldn't have been in a better place. All summer long, I got to go on rockhounding trips. This is a picture from a trip my club took out to China Hollow Ranch, out past the Dalles near Wasco. And underneath this escarpment kind of cliff right here is where we were digging out all sorts of cool, colorful jaspers. So the places where you can find really good material is where volcanic rock has been eroded away. So riverbeds are a great place to start. Like I said, I found all sorts of cool stuff in the Clackamas River and here in the Willamette River on Ross Island, downtown. And then also out in the high desert where you see large hills eroding away, and then there's these cliff faces full of jaspers and agates that are completely exposed. Especially out in Central Oregon, there's also public digging places that are marked. You don't even have to have any guides or anything. You can just drive right out, and National Forest signs will direct you right to the sites. And you can just walk right up to them, and there's material just laying on the ground ready for you. So rockhounding is very accessible. You don't have to be an expert or really experienced to get into it. You can just get in the car and go. It's super fun. There are some beautiful geologic places in Oregon where you're not going to find cool agates and jaspers and petrified wood. The Painted Hills are a sedimentary formation. They are many layers of tropical soils that have deposited over millions of years. And then as the landscape dried out and eroded away, they were exposed. However, on the volcanic hills behind the Painted Hills, you can find all sorts of amazing fossils and thunder eggs. But not right there. Also, who's been to Smith Rock? Any rock climbers? Yeah. You're not actually going to find anything cool at Smith Rock either, and here's why. Smith Rock is lava and also kind of this rhyolitic tuff, which is volcanic ash, that has never been totally buried underground. It's always remained at the surface. So this lava flowed along the surface and stayed on the surface of Earth for us to see and experience. Also, Smith Rock is the edge of a massive caldera. You know, like if you have the top of a volcano, it's the rim, and everything around it has eroded away. So because this stuff hasn't been way underneath the ground, there isn't all that quartzy water filling in the voids and drying out over millions of years. You would have to dig way, way, way deeper below these formations to find something. So good to keep in mind if you are looking for a new place to dig, it's always good to do your research on the age of the rocks around you. This is the Owyhee Desert and the Snake River, and it's a beautiful area. And this is an amazing place to find a very famous Oregon jasper called picture jasper. And the reason is because the river has eroded so many hundreds of feet of volcanic rock away that in the washes down here and on the mountain slopes leading down to them, you can literally just kind of hike in there if you can survive the drive on like terrifying dirt roads for hours, and you can find some really amazing stuff. This is one of the coolest places to go, but definitely one of the hardest to get to, especially if you're by yourself. Always take a friend, which leads me to my friends Susie and Deb, who are in the Mount Hood Rock Club, and they were my rockhounding girlfriends all summer, and I just love them. Susie and Deb are obsessed, way more obsessed than I could ever be. I'm pretty sure Deb has spent her entire retirement on buying thousands and thousands of tons of rock to fill her backyard, in addition to digging it up. I went on a trip with her this summer where we bought a couple trolleys with us, and she tried to get me and Susie to help her lift a refrigerator-sized rock into the back of her pickup truck. And we refused, and she got so angry with us, and we just had this like meltdown, the three of us fighting in the wilderness about how we're not gonna lift this giant refrigerator rock into the back of her truck, and she's telling us we're being boring, and oh man. Anyways, we went out for Mexican food and made up, but when you do go out there, you're gonna need some tools. And this is Deb with her brand new rock pick that she just loves. And we used a couple of these on a trip over the summer and they ruled. Basically, you just need a couple things to get out there and get some stuff. Ideally, you wanna end up looking like this guy with a nice folding shovel and a super cool outfit and a good hat. I love using canvas water buckets because they collapse and they are kind of malleable, whereas the 5-gallon plastic buckets can crack and break often, and the shards are bad. And these are just so great. I just love them. Highly recommend them for a lot of outdoor adventuring. Definitely bring safety goggles. If there's one thing you can't forget, it's those. Getting a nice rock hammer is awesome. You'll definitely need a pry bar to pull large stuff out of the ground. And then a mallet and a chisel always helps as well. But really, as long as you have a pick and a pry bar and a bucket, you're fine. I also recommend getting Lars Johnson's Rockhounding Oregon book. Lars is in my club, and he's a really awesome guy. And he just wrote this really killer guide with tons of color pictures about where to find rocks over the entire state. It's definitely worth picking up. Oh, and one more thing. Does anybody have recreation maps of Oregon? Don't these rule? Who has them? Do you love them? Seriously, aren't they the greatest thing? I love these. I love them. Right? They're amazing. They're great. They show you where all the BLM land is so you can camp for free. It's like, it's just the best. It's the best thing you can ever buy at a bookstore, besides Lars's book. All right, then there's some more advanced tools for rock hounding. You've got your backhoe and your dynamite. So next week, after getting so inspired, you're going to go out and get a mining claim all of your own, way out near Prineville, and you're going to want to blow the heck out of the side of this hill so you can loosen all the material so rockhounds can come and dig for a fee. So in order to backhoe it out, though, you've got to blow it up first, which is something I've seen a couple rockhounds do, but no one's ever let me touch the dynamite yet. So one day, I'll get there. And then once you've blown it all up and pulled it out, you can let the rockhounds come, and they will. And they'll go to great lengths for a beautiful rock. There is no embarrassing gesture to them. Anything goes. So once you get all your rocks, you gotta haul them home. And this is an average backyard of a rockhound. But this is just a part of it. You know, it goes on and on and on. Buckets and buckets, and it's the rockhound's wife's worst nightmare. The biggest tool that I can think of in lapidary craft is an Alaskan jade saw. Way up in Alaska, where they dig out these massive earth-sized chunks of jade, they're too big to move, so they have to cut them up on site. And these saws will run for days before cutting a rock in half. I can't imagine how expensive that saw blade is, right? If you know anything about lapidary saw blades, a little diamond saw blade is $50. That's like this big. So imagine, you know, one that size.
What is
The scale on this, any guesses? Like this is a 50-gallon drum right here.
Yeah.
So person's probably about this tall. So I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 feet in diameter, that blade? Yeah? It's big. It's really big. And then you can have your own Alaskan jade saw at home. This is a large slab saw, and what most rockhounds who have a shop do, they take home large chunks of rock and they buy a nice slab saw. They put the rock inside, and this will cut the rock into slices. So once you have a big hunk that you take home, you can make nice slices of your rock like this. And that's how lapidary artists begin their work. They start with the slab. Then they take the slab to a smaller trim saw, and they cut it up. They go zzzz, and they break it in half. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to drop it. You know, and then they cut a cool shape out of it. And then from there, they want to take it and make it beautiful and curve it. So my rock club is so awesome because it has a shared lapidary studio that all the members get to use. The great thing about this is that lapidary equipment is really expensive. To set up your own shop at home from beginning to end would be thousands of dollars. But joining the Mount Hood Rock Club is $10 a year, and then every time you want to go use a shop, it's $10 a visit to use thousands of dollars worth of lapidary equipment. And whoever is there as the host of the shop is obligated to teach you how to do lapidary art for free. These are grinding wheels. So once the lapidary artist has their slab or their piece cut out, they'll take it to the wheel and they'll make a beautiful shape out of it. And that's the kind of thing I bet a lot of you have jewelry with stones in it. That's what's sitting in your jewelry. It's this final beautiful shape that's carved out on the wheel. But then some of you might be wearing faceted stones. I am. And faceted stones are a little bit more complicated because you have to use specific angles to make the stone geometrically perfect so that light passes through it and refracts in the way that you want it to. Faceting machines are so insanely expensive, I would never recommend getting into faceting unless you're independently wealthy. This is my favorite tool in the whole world. This is a really crummy one, but it's just a Dremel. Some of you might have nicer Fordham motors with flex shafts. But Dremels are amazing because you can use it for so much stuff around the house. You know, if you don't have dental insurance, there's one option. But also, you know, you can do amazing carving work. I personally do pendant work. I make jewelry that is cut down into slabs, then I shape it on my grinding wheel, and then I drill it. So this is my most favorite tool, and I think I will have one for the rest of my life. I just love it. So there's two types of things going on with lapidary art. The basics are faceting, which is stones that look like this, and cabochons, or cabbing. And those are your smoother stones. Cabochon means without edges. It means a smooth shape. This is kind of more advanced lapidary work. I've seen people do amazing carving of there's a lot of skull work in lapidary for some reason. It's an interesting taste. I don't know if it's our taste, but we'll appreciate it because the talent that goes into this is extraordinary, as well as the patience to do it. These are some pictures of my work. I'm a beginner at this. I've only been working with stones for a couple years. So I just cut out a flat slab, and I cut a shape out of it, and then I polish it, and I put a hole in it. It's really simple, but I just love it. And all of a sudden, I'm creating something that's very stylistically my own, and I can afford to do it, and I have fun doing it, and I think people like it. So I'm going to keep doing it. But I definitely owe this ability to my rock club that I joined, because that's where I learned. So here's some consumer education for you. Now that you understand lapidary craft, there's a lot of junk out there, and you don't need to buy it anymore. You can still buy something beautiful that you can afford that's not a fake. One of the worst things out there is fake turquoise, and it's everywhere. There's nothing wrong with the stone itself. This is a beautiful, awesome stone, but you should never pay turquoise prices for it. This is what real turquoise looks like, and then you can compare it to this. And this is what this dyed stone actually is. It's something called howlite, which is just magnesium carbonate, and you can find it everywhere in the world, and it's a beautiful stone. And this stuff should really be just sold as dyed howlite. There's nothing wrong with dyeing stones. I've actually been experimenting with dyeing stones at home naturally, and it's been so much fun. It'd be really exciting to take the stigma away of dyed stones, you know? But don't ever, so the next time you're looking at things like turquoise and stuff, look for a lot of different colors and especially browns integrated into it. If you're not seeing any browns, then it's definitely fake. Don't buy it if the person is trying to tell you it's turquoise. Save your money on something better. There's also all these rumors about making diamonds at home, you know, and I've had all these people trying to talk to me about this all the time. Like, oh, do you ever make diamonds at home? I've heard it's possible. And there's these guys on the internet that say you can do it with Skippy peanut butter and charcoal. We're going to attempt to watch their video of them doing it. It might be too quiet, and if it is, I'll just narrate because I've watched it about 200 times. These guys are amazing. They're definitely artists. This is art. You know, it's not a hoax. Is the sound on in those speakers? It's off? That's okay. It still might be too quiet anyways, but I wanted to show this to you.
Nice skinny peanut butter and some white as well as the Pyrex microwave cooker.
All right, so let's start.
Yeah, let's go to page 167 and break it down.
Page 167 of the Bling Cookbook.
4 ounces of peanut butter, which is probably about a quarter of the jar, and you want to cover these. Correct. We got our charcuterie cast covered about 4 ounces of peanut butter, and we're going to take it outside. But before before we do, remember this. You got to do this outside. You do not want the carbon monoxide all up in your house.
Yeah, so let's go take this outside.
All up in your house.
60 minutes, but at 10-minute intervals. You don't want to put the straight through. Got to break it up in 10-minute intervals. So let's go start our first 10 minutes.
Word.
Fresh diamonds in the microwave.
That lid is on.
So I tried doing this at home last week. I was going to make a film of me doing it too and do a compare-contrast, but it didn't go so well. I like the soundtrack. Smooth. I wonder what their neighbors were thinking. Look at the smoke coming out of there. I don't know if everyone can see it. It's smoking. Woo! Oh no, what are they doing? So at this point, the diamonds have already been made. They're going to burn away the excess material with some lighter fluid and some fire.
Stand back. This might be a fire.
I like how scared of it they are.
Throw that lighter fluid in there, light this thing up to burn away the excess soot. That's why it's important to do this outside. Light this up. All right, so we burnt off the residue,
The ashen residue.
and now
I think it comes down to like just cleaning it off gently and seeing what we discover.
It's just a charcoal briquette that's still in there, for those of you that can't see it.
and a little bit of water, and what is left are your diamonds.
Should be, right?
So
You can chop that up.
yeah, chop that up a little bit.
Chop it up. Bring up the barbecue.
So we're gonna add a little water. Oh, look at that. And now we got the strainer. Strain all the excess particles out of here.
Fancy equipment,
Continue to
high-end diamond making equipment.
get our diamonds. You know, this is just like the gold miners back in the day, gold rush. This is diamond rush now. We're doing the same thing. We're sifting through the sediments,
Yeah. The sparks are falling out.
getting the diamonds.
It's just charcoal.
All right.
There's no diamonds.
Like we just showed you earlier. Okay. Oh shit.
What? Look at those perfectly faceted diamonds. Straight out of the microwave.
Bling, the hip hop jewelry book.
Now in stores. All right, folks, thanks for putting up with that video at the end. And thanks so much for coming. Feel free to stick around and ask questions and look at some weird rocks that I brought with me. Thanks for your patience.
Are there diamonds in Oregon?
Are there diamonds in Oregon? I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if there could be like small chunks of them around. I know up in Wyoming and Montana, around that area, there's definitely diamond deposits. I think wherever you find like really, really heavy carbon-based deposits, probably. I don't know though. There might be some other folks here who would know though, especially my rock club friends.
So you were talking about the way that it was like the subduction zone was creating and depositing stuff over time.
Oh yeah, sure.
Does that mean that things farther east are older?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Can you restate the question?
The subduction zone was depositing all of that stuff, and as it deposited it, the question was, does that mean that things in Oregon farther east are older or away from the coast?
The very underlying rock, bedrock, that makes up Oregon, the farther you go east, the older it is in terms of when that rock was formed and where. Its age could be the same as the rock that's crashing into it, but in terms of the time that that rock has spent underneath Oregon is longer. Then on top, you have all of this magma coming up during different time periods that's all over the place. And so the rock that's on the very top at Oregon's surface can be all sorts of different ages all over the place. But underneath, you kind of have this neat stacking up of different rock formations that are coming in from the ocean.
This is a good question. Are there any rock swaps around? Is that part of the club?
Rock swaps, there's all sorts of opportunities to buy and trade rocks. Every day is an opportunity to buy and trade a rock. Being in a rock club helps because you know exactly who everybody is and you can just call them up. There are gem shows all the time, mostly in the summer, in the better weather times of the year. They go from spring to fall. Joining a rock club is a great resource because then you get the calendar of every possible rock show happening. Looking on Craigslist is great too. There's always old rockhounds looking to get rid of about 2 to 3 tons of rocks on any given day. So, yeah.
I was going to add to that. Attending a rock show, literally you pick up material for pennies on the dollar that you would spend anywhere else. You go into places like Ed's House of Jams or different little shops that specialize in rocks, and honestly, you go to a rock show and it is pennies on the dollar
It's true.
for some really nice material.
Really nice.
Auctions. They have auctions, silent auctions, where you can bid on pieces.
Well, what I was gonna say is I had a lady that donated what we thought were 50 buckets, but I think only 40 now. 5-gallon buckets of rocks, and some of it's old. We've only sold 2 buckets of it. I'm gonna be having more auctions at our rock club if anyone wants to join our rock club. And people got some really good stuff at our last one.
I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce the members of my rock club who are here. Linda Gentry is our president. Barbara Brandt, are you vice president and secretary? And then Jan's at the back, and Jan has filled all sorts of amazing roles in the club. And then where did Jude go? Jude's a new member. There she is. And Joelle is a new member. Who else from the club is here? That's it? So yeah, there's a lot of cool chicks in the club. It's not all old guys, you know? Next question. So the Mount Hood Rock Club meets in Gresham at a Methodist church on 8th and Norman, the second Tuesday of every month, and the fourth Monday of every month. There are currently no meetings in December. The meetings start promptly at 7 p.m. The Lapidary studio that we teach at is closer in. It's here in Portland. It's on Southeast Milwaukee in the old Trackers Earth Building. And I think we're open almost every day of the week now except Monday and Tuesday. However, pardon? Oh yeah, it's on the way to Selwood. Yeah. However, the shop is for members. So you have to join the club for $10 a year and go to a couple meetings, which are definitely worthwhile. So, more questions? Sure. No, I got sick of doing it after a half an hour. It just smelt bad and I was wasting electricity and I knew it didn't work anyways. And I felt really embarrassed. I was worried my roommates were gonna come home and see what I was doing to our only microwave. So I went to the Goodwill and bought another one and never told anyone about it. In terms of rockhounding or lapidary craft? Rockhounding. Always go with friends. Definitely buy Lars's book. And definitely buy a really, really good map of the area where you're going. Don't take a teeny low clearance car to an area that has dirt roads if it's your first time going there, because there's a really good chance you're going to run into problems. Most of Eastern Oregon is not made for little geometros. It's made for like ranchers and big four-wheel drive trucks, you know? So definitely be prepared for flat tires, camping when you didn't expect to stay out for the night, stuff like that. Because if you're prepared in that way, then there's very little that can actually go wrong. You'll have enough time. Also, GPS is great to have on you as well. On iPhones, my friend Josh, who's here, who's an amazing caver, showed me this awesome app you can download onto your iPhone that's a GPS finder, and no matter if you don't have service or anything, you can still locate your GPS. You know where you are. The only thing is you won't be able to see it on the map. It'll tell you your points. You have to download the map of the area ahead of time, and then you can use the map when you're out of service to find your location. It saved my life once. Highly recommend it.
And I would highly recommend taking water and toilet paper wherever you go. How far out do you end up?
Touche, Jen, touche. It's true.
My friend Finn and I want to know if there are any other types of crystals or gems or anything that you can make in the microwave.
Oh, yeah, sure. But maybe not in the microwave. You can make amazing crystals at home in buckets. All you need is some sugar or some salt or some borax. And then you can put fabric in a bucket filled with that material and some nice warm water. So if you get borax, like it's a type of soap, or if you get salt or sugar, and you dissolve as much of that stuff in some warm water as possible in a bucket, you can hang all sorts of stuff as long as it absorbs water. You know, like a t-shirt will absorb water, but like a plastic remote control won't. You can't really diamond or sugar encrust a remote control very well, but if you hang fabric in it and leave it for a couple days, when you pull it out, it'll be totally covered in crystals. It's really fun. Oh yeah, you can make all sorts of crazy like neon blue crystal razor suits, you know. So I made a time travel suit this summer out of borax crystals with my friend Julia Barbie. We had a great time. It didn't take us very far though. It took us like 2 days later, and we were like, that wasn't very fast. I don't think it worked.
So we're walking down the river, we're looking down, we're kind of like, we see something down there. How do we recognize that there might be something on the inside of what we're looking at?
Great question. That's based on experience, really. The more you go out and pick up stuff, the more you'll get used to unusual patterns. Unusual patterns and unusual colors are your dead giveaways. The only reason why I get to find petrified wood in the river is because it's underwater. All the stuff I find is underwater, not on the beach. When it's wet, you can see a lot better the patterning. A lot of times I'll be swimming with my pals in the summer and they'll pick up stuff and they'll bring it over to me. And they'll be like, what's this? And I'll be like, oh my God, it's wood. No way, that's amazing, you know? And they're like, let me keep it, man. I knew what it was. Getting it wet. So if you're out in a dry area, you have to have like a little bit of water with you, but don't waste all of it, because as Jan said, it's important to save some for emergencies. But getting material wet is a really great way to find out. Also, if you're not worried about the integrity of the object or preserving it, you can just give it a good whack with a rock hammer, chip it a little bit, and maybe even break it open and see what's inside.
Spit on it.
Spit on it.
That's the rockhound. You just pick it
There's all sorts of ways. Yeah, it's just experience. The more stuff you pick up, the more stuff you'll get pickier over time as well, for sure.
Well, and there are also rock identification books.
Oh yeah.
I just picked one up on Amazon.com that is specific to Oregon and Washington, which is really cool. It's just chock full of a lot of colored pictures. It was on Amazon for like $14.95.
What's it called?
I think it was identifying. I think it just said rocks and gems of Oregon and Washington.
Okay.
It's just a little pocket
It's a little guy.
manual, but I mean, it's got a couple, it's got about 150 pages in it and lots of good color pictures, and it had little tiny maps up in the corners of where all of the specimens were located.
Cool.
I think it's super cool is they have geological roadside guides for every state.
Yeah. Those rule.
Much hiking, but I know what the geological stuff by the side of the road is, and you can pick and choose for a much better chance of just like getting out of your car next to the road and finding something high.
You know, somebody in my club just told me a story about, was it one of our club members who found an ichthyosaur in a road cut?
Actually, Bernie the ichthyosaur. It was a huge ordeal, but
We were there, I was there.
You were there? No way! That's amazing.
On a road cut out of Icy Suplee, about 70-some miles that they got of Prineville. Road cut, we got permission from you have to get permission if it's private land. You always ask people, you never just start digging on somebody's property. We got permission. And it actually now is not really an ichthyosaur, it's a thalattosaur.
Oh.
But there's more than one animal in there, so we're not really sure. So if anyone wants to go to OMSI and ask for Greg Carr, he's been prepping it out there. And they have a 3D printer. So he had half of a skull, so they printed out what would be the other half, and he brought
Cool.
it to one of our, I also belong to NAR, a fossil group. And he brought it, and it was just so awesome to see what the whole thing printed out of plastic. Only thing is it was bright blue. But you were asking for some gray plastic or something, bright blue, but it's awesome, and we dug that up in freezing, windy day. Did we care? No.
That must have been so exciting.
We dug out 3 great big rocks like this, full of bones. It was totally disarticulated. And we slid them after they put the stuff, the plaster and everything to keep it from breaking. We slid it down the hill. It has this great big old half rusted out Suburban. That's his rockhounding vehicle. We brought great big pieces of wood and we slid them right into his car. And they're at OMSI now. We took him to OMSI. So it's really awesome that he's been prepping out quite a bit. So we don't know what else is in all those rocks. I mean, those bones in the rocks. But we do so far have a thalattosaur, which is very rare to find.
That's amazing.
you can actually see the story if you Google Bernie the ichthyosaur.
An ichthyosaur is a marine reptile from about about 80 million years ago. 220? Mosasaurs are 80 million years ago. That looked like dolphins. They were beautiful, but they were reptilian. So.
So they think this is a different thing. So is it older than 220 or around the same time period?
When you're in a certain layer of,
It's the same time period.
it's the
Right.
same time period, just that it looked like it was going to be an ichthyosaur, but it's actually a thalattosaur.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Just want to say a lot of the books you're talking about are available at the library, so if you don't want to go buy stuff, go borrow stuff.
Go to your local library. All right, everybody, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate everybody that came out. Cool.
All right. So we're done with the Curiosity Club events for the year, and we'll start again in February. But December 12th, we're having our Hand-Eye Supply Curiosity Club alumni party and a holiday bash, and it's open to all of you. And we encourage everyone to bring friends. Since the Curiosity Club began in 2010, we have had no less than 100 speakers. That's That's a lot, right? Each and every one has been insightful, entertaining, and of course incredibly curious. One thing that we've always lamented is the fact that after each club meeting we rarely get more than a few minutes to chat as people make their way out. So the solution is that we have this big party and invite all of the speakers that have come and all of the people that have come, and you can hang out and mingle and talk, and we'll make little badges for the Curiosity Club speakers so you can identify them and ask them questions and pick their brains. But while you're here, you should definitely come up and check some stuff out and ask more questions. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you, Alison. That was awesome.
Thank you for having me.
Very nice.